Welcome to Bicycle Retail Radio, the bicycle industry podcast that brings retailers, vendors, advocates, and thought leaders to the mic for honest discussions about the latest issues facing retailers while taking an in-depth look at the person within the profession.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'm MBDA President Heather Mason. Today, we have Dale Aguas, USA Territory Manager, and Amber Krueger, Inside Sales from Tern. Tern focuses on building bikes that are a great ride, easy to fold, and are built to last. They are a unique brand with some very recognized frame features, and we're excited to chat with them today about what's happening with Tern currently, what's next, and what dealers and future dealers need to know. Without further ado, let's jump in. All right, Dale, Amber, I am thrilled to have you guys on the show. Listeners, today we're talking with Tern Bicycles, a renowned manufacturer of urban bicycles. We're going to not only learn more about Tern, but delve into the world of urban bicycles, folding bicycles, why retailers should carry these bikes in their stores, and how to effectively sell them. Dale, Amber, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you for having us. And before we dive into Tern, I want to thank you for what you do with NVDA and making our industry stronger. Bike dealers are really important. We depend on them. They serve such an important role. And when they succeed, we, the brands, also succeed. So, but they are our face. So thank you for what you do.
Oh, you're welcome. We are thrilled at the MBDA to work with Tern as an association partner. Your bicycles are really allowing people to explore more areas, easily commute, really get out and have great rides on bikes that are built to last. So this podcast is overdue. I am ready to help our retailers understand why they should consider working with Tern, why they should consider just selling and stocking this unique category of bikes. So I've got a ton of questions for you both. I hope you guys are ready for this.
Let's go.
All right. Okay. So we're talking about urban bicycles, and it's easy to look at the Tern website, which for our listeners, head over turnbicycles.com and see the unique lineup of bikes that you offer. These bikes are hot. Like, I have seen the numbers just increase from the data I've been looking at. Pre-COVID, we were building up steam, and now it just seems that these bicycles have really saturated the market. Any ideas from you, Dale or Amber, why we've seen such an increase in this category of bicycle?
I have a understanding that overall bikes make sense. Bikes make sense pre-COVID, during COVID, and they still make sense post-COVID. And if bikes make sense and they really could play an important part of our everyday lives, then what time frame we're in doesn't matter. Bikes make sense. So when people realize that, it makes a difference, because when they get out there and ride, then they're going to ride more, and other people are going to see it, and sales are going to increase because more and more people are doing it.
I'm resonating with that. As a person who lives in a small town with a local co-op, it's very close to get to the schools to take the kids, in the morning. I'm seeing more people on bikes that accommodate children. I'm seeing more people on bikes that go to the grocery store with baskets, and it seems like it's becoming a mainstream option. You're right. The more I see someone on the bike, I'm like, oh, I got to get my bike out. Amber, anything you would add here about just some of the advantages maybe for retailers looking at carrying this category of bike in their store?
I think there are a lot of possibilities, because it's a lot of different types of riders that are going to use these bikes. So it's not just, one category of like a gravel rider or a mountain bike rider. It's just people using it to do their everyday things. So things they're already doing, just making it easier and more enjoyable.
I love that bikes are really allowing us, now that we have so many different styles of bikes, and now with e-mobility products, we can go
Mhm.
further and longer. We're talking about Tern. I've mentioned the website, but maybe for our listeners, give us, if you would, just an overview of some of the bikes that Tern carries, and I mean, just in your word, how you would describe the line of bikes that Tern offers.
Yeah, overall, we sell urban transportation. These are a means to get around by bike and do things that make sense. They're clean, they're useful, they're very inclusive in that they have so many purposes, serve so many needs, and fit all types of riders. And not only that, when you equip it to your specific purpose or use, it's one of those things, Heather, that we want you to ride and keep riding, not just buy the bike and put it away because you can't go to the store and take home a watermelon when you buy it, or maybe you can't drop off your kid at school like you mentioned, or maybe two, or maybe go for your ride, but also bring your puppy along. Those are everyday people things that sometimes are challenges to riding a bike. But if we can allow people to do this, then we want to, because like I said earlier, bikes make sense. So we have bikes that fold, we have bikes that carry cargo, we have bikes that carry kids and pets, and a combination of both. We have bikes that are just easy to ride and do everyday things with, whether fitness, commute, or car substitute for these shorter trips.
I love that the website, as I'm perusing the website and the models you offer, there's a unique way that I feel like you're talking to the customers who are interacting with you on the online platform. And you have a category that's allowing customers to select their bike by their planned use. So carry cargo, carry kids, commute, exercise. Can you give us a little bit about like the why behind that feature on the website? Because I think that is really interesting, the way that you're doing that for customers.
I think part of it is we have a lot of different accessories. So not only do we make these fantastic bikes, we make this whole lineup of accessories to make the bike useful, because a bike is just a bike. But if there's a specific reason a customer wants to use it, you need all the stuff to go with it. So I think that just makes it a lot easier to navigate and to figure out maybe what platform of bike is best for their needs, and then all the accessories to go with it.
I love that you brought up the accessories, because I feel like so often we have this idea, okay, let's make a bike to carry a
Mhm.
kid. But then there's things that are missing that don't actually make the bike practical to do that. And looking through your accessory list, like seeing the little handle and seeing all the covers for the bags, and it's like it all works together. And a rider, a commuter, a mother, a father can really set up their bike to be practical and very useful. So it's not like you just have a machine that won't really actually do the job. Like you can make it, you can hook it up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We have a huge lineup. It can be a little overwhelming sometimes for new dealers or even the customer trying to figure out what products to actually like put on their new bike, their new Tern. But our product team is all about solving problems, and you can see that in all of our accessories. So yeah.
I do want to get into tips for retailers working with Tern, or showing this product in their store, how to best display it. But before we do that, you just mentioned something that's so important to me, and that's your team. And as Dale was saying at the top of the podcast, it's about how we work together, how we make retailers stronger, and that helps the brands get stronger and vice versa. So I want to know more about the Tern team. I know, Amber, you're inside sales, and Dale,
Mhm.
you're the US territory manager. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Do you guys love what you do? It seems like you love what you do. I can see so our listeners,
Cute.
I can see the huge smiles, but
I get to talk
Heather,
bike shop all day. So it's great.
I started in the industry, and I tell my kids, in 1986, not 1886, and still to this day, I love it. I'm not burnt out. I love bikes, and I love the dealer network, and what it's all about. So it's all fun.
Amber, you were telling me offline that the team at Tern is not that big. I think sometimes we feel like we're working with a company that maybe is like 500 people deep and it's just this huge organization. Can you just tell us a little bit more about the people that make up Tern?
Yeah, I mean, I think we have this really big presence as a company now. And even when I was a retailer, like I started as a just working in a Turn retailer, and I thought the team was a lot bigger. And then becoming a part of the team, it's like, oh, there really is only three of us working specifically in sales for North America. We have, you know, three people working in marketing and then, but we also work really closely with our whole team in Taiwan too. So Turn Global. But in North America, we are a pretty small team, and we're just trying to help everybody and get things done. And we work really hard. So, yeah.
And Dale, you gave a little bit of your background, and I think it's also important to talk about the people maybe that aren't Turn employees, but that do work with you to make this fantastic relationship with retailers. And I think, if correct me if I'm wrong, that Turn does work with a few outside reps that help retailers best position in product. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. We work with a few outside reps in certain regions of the country, but primarily most of our communication is done from our inside team to the dealers. And also we interact a fair amount with consumers as well.
It's great to see your dealer network growing, and how has like the past couple years with COVID really flipped us upside down? Have you gotten closer to your dealer, expanded your dealer base? Just give us an update on how the dealerships are going across the North America, if you would.
Yeah, it's going good. COVID, well, what a roller coaster ride, right? And but yes, we were talking about communication earlier, and that the whole thing for our dealers is trying to. I spend hours and hours and hours during the week communicating to our dealers about things that are not specifically Turn related. There are things that relate to business. It might be shipping and logistics, what's going on there, because there are some challenges there right now. One of the big providers, Yellow Freight, bankruptcy recently, and they deliver for a lot of the industry. But anyway, things like that. If we can help the dealers succeed from a business standpoint, then they're going to be long-lasting partners who enjoy what they do, but it'll allow them to sell product, and we're confident that part of the product they sell will be a Turn product. But ultimately, we want to get more bicycles in the streets and change people's lives.
It is great to see more families choosing the bicycle, and just e-bikes have really helped our industry reach more riders. And I want to congratulate Tern on your commitment to safety and having UL 2849 certified e-bike batteries. That's really important. Let's talk a little bit about the customers. I know that you have the data probably from the website traffic, and you're seeing what's selling through your retailers to riders. How is the customer base changing? How is the customer's expectations changing? Maybe, Amber, you could dive into that a little bit just from the data that you're seeing. Sorry, Amber, I put you on the spot.
Like, that's a big question. I'll start it out with, I think Turns are designed for every rider. So large or small or young or old, we really do want to give a solution for a lot of different folks to get on a bike and to use a bike. Yeah. Oh, Dale, what do you want to add?
Yeah, no, I use this phrase a lot, and maybe I overuse it, but I think it's really true. In most of the world, bikes are seen as tools, where in the USA, they're seen as toys. And they're purely, and not, I'm speaking, they're a lot of times sold as recreation. And because, here's a bike, go ride it, and when you're fit, you're done. Or we've seen it during COVID. People ride, and then all of a sudden they're not riding as much anymore. But like I said earlier, bikes make sense. And if we could keep people on bikes and keep making these bikes useful and giving them the right accessories to enjoy their experience, they'll be more apt to ride more. So we're listening to consumers on socials, and we interact with them, and we have developed products because of direct consumer requests and ideas that we go, thank you so much, here it is, but it does take time, and it's not easy to do, but our product team overseas and around the world really does a good job in recognizing the consumer wants out there.
And I think our team does a really good job of like acknowledging that those wants change throughout a rider's lifetime. So they're using a bike maybe to haul one kid and then two kids, or maybe they aren't hauling kids at all. And maybe there's an e-bike, or now we have acoustic bikes too. So it's like we have kind of that whole lifestyle of a rider. They can choose a bike. So
I definitely have been watching the development of bikes as transportation in European companies, and the development of the cargo market and using bikes to actually haul more goods. And I think it's really great that you do. I mean, your accessory page, you can scroll down for so long. I mean, there's rain shield covers for kids. I mean, nice large size panniers to hold all sorts of groceries, locks, storm shields. I mean, you really have thought of a lot of things. I mean, there's a picture of a Tern bicycle with a big box on the back of it, like it's going to the UPS or the FedEx. So there's lots of opportunities here for people to really use bicycles as a transportation alternative. And I think that's important in the US as we look to, I mean, what was a couple of years ago when the gas prices were going up, I was telling retailers, set up your store really for this. I mean, that's something you're probably keeping an eye on too, the consumer demand completely shifting as we fluctuate with diesel costs or gas pricing, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So for retailers who you're working with who are doing exceptionally well selling urban folding cargo bikes that carry children in their store, what are some of maybe the pro tips you would share? Is there anything that's like a common thread that you're seeing?
I would say the ones that stand out are active in their community, and that can be look a lot of different ways. And then also they're living it. They're using the bikes themselves. They're out riding with their families, running shop errands. Because it just takes showing folks how this can be part of their life and how they can use it to really just start it. So
I like that you said you're actually living it. So you're using one. I used to, when I owned a store, my personal bike was there, and it was really easy for me to communicate. This is what I use. This is how I take my kids to school. Some of the common questions maybe that come up from customers considering a bike, a bike maybe of some of the categories that you offer. Are there any maybe sales tips that you would give to retailers to combat some of the most often asked questions? I don't know what they might be, but I'm sure that you're taking consumer questions all the time. So you might have some common ones that come up most often.
Yeah. I was talking with Amber earlier, and one of the most important things, as simple as this sounds, I think it's oversimplistic, but it's key. Have some inventory for customers to touch, feel, see, and demo. Because some of the fears are, I haven't ridden in a while. I'm kind of intimidated by bikes in general, let alone using it to carry cargo or a passenger, right? So having that bike for them to experience and for the consumer to personally feel it and go, it's easy to mount, it's easy to dismount. And once I'm going, wow, it's upright, it's comfortable, I feel safe. So it addresses some of the fears. But if you do not have this product, and it speaks to a lot of the categories in the industry, if you don't have the said product, we're just looking at a web page and you're trying to visualize, And it's hard to have a customer experience that, and to the point where they're confident enough to purchase it. These are not entry-level priced bikes. They're fairly priced, but they're not cheap. So you want to invest in having a nice fleet of demos and being able to do the basics in, many of the customers will want the seat lower than your typical riding position. So you know what? Sometimes you have to put away the protractor and measuring tape and drop the seat post a little bit more. And also giving them that experience, it will help kind of overcome the potential objections.
Dale, you brought up a really great point. As someone who recently got a bike that allows my 2 children to go on it, and I'm a rider, I was a pro rider, but getting this bike, I was nervous to get on it with the kids, just the handling of it. And it still at first was a little bit tricky for me, who is an experienced rider. So your point of having a demo or having a bike in the store that someone can put a leg over and actually feel and visualize themselves riding down the street, I mean, that makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah.
Really.
Especially when you have that wiggly cargo in the back, like it's different.
I imagine it is. Yeah, 100%. It definitely is different. You know, any retailers that are organizing, I'm just thinking about, we organize these group rides with Lycra and spandex. I'm thinking if we had a group ride or a family outing to go get ice cream on our cargo bikes, that would be pretty cool. Are you seeing that done anywhere? Because I would imagine that would get everyone excited.
We are. I think that's the part that I love about my job, is like brainstorming with like what are different events and ways to get involved, to get families on bikes and using them and just kind of doing stuff together. And that's one of the things that's popping up with dealers, are these family rides that, maybe it's only a 3-mile ride from the shop to a park, or maybe they meet at the park and then ride to another park. So it's like these really simple ways to get out together in the community that aren't about riding. Like, we're using bikes, but it's not the focus. It's about getting families out there together, and you just happen to go by bike. So that's fun.
Heather, to add to that, if we're looking for increasing bicycle usage and participation, I guarantee you that child on the back of the bike, as they grow older, is more apt to ride than if they drove to the ice cream parlor.
I definitely think that I'm more apt to ride to the ice cream and have a better time. I'm sure you're watching the data, you're watching the trends. I've been talking a lot about kids on a bike, taking my kids transportation. I know folding bikes are a category that Tern does as well. So I want to just talk a little bit about what trends you're noticing, what people are looking for. Is it a little bit of everything, a smattering of cargo, folding, or what is your data telling you?
Yeah, it's a little bit of everything, really. Space, when people are thinking folding bikes, usually space is one of the thoughts, because there's a challenge, whether it's where they live or where they work, or sometimes it speaks to security, because one of the advantages of a folding bike is, you live in a dense urban environment where theft may be more prone. Instead of locking that really nice bike outside, you bring it inside, fold it, put it in the corner of your office. Nobody even knows it's there. And if you wanted to cover it, there's accessories to, discreetly cover it, or even carry it through your building so people don't know you're really wheeling or transporting a bicycle. So, yeah.
I think that folding is an important category to recognize. And I think I read that you just launched the smallest foldable bike ever. Is that correct?
We launched this year BYB P10, which is a newer model for us. That category existed. For us, it's our smallest bike. In all honesty, would it be the smallest bike ever or folding bike ever? No, there are some competitors that have really, really awesome folds. We like to say that we make a great riding bike. It happens to fold. So Heather, one of the challenges is that we're asking for a bike to fit just about everybody, but also fold small and ride well. And so that means smaller wheels, that means hinges on a frame or somewhere in the stem area. And to accomplish that from an engineering standpoint is so difficult. But for the user, a multimodal commuter, somebody looking for space, maybe it's an RV or somebody who travels by plane a lot, or maybe a private plane or a boater. Or somebody as simple as this, they don't want to spend the extra hundreds and even into the low thousands for a car rack, but they're a rider. They just fold their bike, put in their trunk, or maybe 2 or 3 bikes in their vehicle on the inside, and then they go ride and it performs well.
It's really exciting, the new products that are coming. One bike of yours that really struck me is the HSD SAI. I mean, this little, I mean, I'm going to call it a mighty little machine. It's awesome. For our listeners, definitely go on the website. It's the HSD SAI, Editor's Choice Bicycling Magazine. I know you've won some other awards. It's a 20-inch wheel. We've got a Gates belt drive, a Bosch system. I mean, this is a cargo bike. It's small but mighty. I mean, have you guys both ridden one of these, Dale and Amber? Because this thing looks amazing.
Yeah. So the HSD was my favorite, but we actually just launched a new generation of HSD. So HSD Gen 2 just came out there's some really great belt drive options, some different internal hubs with those, but it's our first bike with the new Bosch Smart System. So you'll see that on our website. I would definitely check those out. They're really cool. And those have a higher, yeah, exactly.
So going back to the bicycles that Tern makes, I just want to ask you, talking about personally, Dale, what's your bike of choice right now? What are you on? I know, just asking you to pick one, probably. I'm sure you have a couple.
Yeah, right now I have 3 in the garage, but it sounds funny, but the bike I'm using the most, because I just moved to the East Coast, and in this particular area, quite honestly, outside of the community, it's difficult to ride. Even as an experienced rider like yourself, I find myself trying to figure out routes. So I've been riding an older Link series bike, and my daughter has too. So we do a lot of family rides together. And but I'm gonna bring in, because like I said, I just moved, so I'll have a GSD and NBD, one of our newer family bikes, here shortly, and looking forward to having those here.
It's so much fun to have cool products that you represent, you work with, you believe in, and you also ride personally. I want to flip over for a moment here in the conversation and go talk about e-bikes, specifically folding e-bikes. We've been doing so much with product safety when it comes to battery. And I'm wondering, as you're communicating with consumers, as you're chatting with your retailers, hearing consumer concerns or questions, is there anything that comes up about e-bikes, a folding e-bike, when it comes to safety concerns from consumers and riders?
The concerns are the same for any e-bike, but with respect to the folding e-bike, we have a series of bikes called Vectron, and they are equipped with Bosch. So as far as the fold, it's just going to be like a regular bike, so long as you close the hinges in the proper manner at the proper torque. So it's going to be just like a regular bike. But in terms of safety, and again, thank you for your work on the back end, because we know NBDA is very active in that and trying to make things right and fair with cities and dwellings and this whole everything that's unfolding. There's a lot, but so number one point, UL 2849. All of our e-bikes are Bosch equipped, so we've got it, and thank you, Bosch, for making it easy for us. And then all of our bikes are independently tested through EFBE in Europe. So these are tight, self-imposed tests. that we do on our bikes that are really, really important, because if you're going to take passengers and cargo on a said bike, especially an electric bike, not only is the electric portion obviously important to keep safe, but it's the mechanical also. So we do testing, and then components, they're tested, and they're high quality components to complement the high quality bike. And I'd like to say, last but not least, we sell through our retailers. So all of our bikes are set up and delivered by bike shops who know how to build, who know how to properly torque the bike. And so that when you receive the product as a consumer, it's properly done, but you're also trained in how to use the bike, as opposed to maybe watching a video or reading some instructions on how to assemble this bike that just arrived, in a truck.
There are some definite safety features that I am just so pleased to see that Tern is following. I mean, the UL 2849 is so important, but you have also the EN 15194. And when you talk about that complete system, I don't think we always that everyone is educated to know that we're not just talking about the battery, we're talking about how the whole bike works together, and it really does make a difference. And kudos to Bosch and several other people for leading the charge on that, and for Tern selecting to work with those manufacturers. The other thing I noticed about your bikes are just the hydraulic disc brakes. So often we see an e-bike, which can be sometimes a little bit heavier than a typical bike. It requires stronger braking. And I love that you have gone with these upgraded components like hydraulic disc brakes and the Gates belt drive, just different things that will go a long way for the rider, for the consumer, and make it easier on the retailer at the end of the day also to know that they're delivering a high quality product. So really awesome. I was on the website looking at every single detail and every single product description, and it doesn't look like there's any shortcuts, which must make you feel great to work for a company that is so dialed, such as Tern is.
It does. It's really rewarding, especially when you see some of the bikes on the street. We're babies. We're new, and to see, we were at an event in Denver a few months back, and went outside to an event within the event, and as people were riding, we saw many turns, and just so rewarding to see that.
I wanted, if you don't mind, let's do something that I don't normally do, but I'm going to do it because I have two of you on the call, and this is a fun category to talk about. I know we have a ton of retailers who are listening, so I want to go into do 4 questions that I'm just going to throw out at you about retailer best practices when it comes to selling urban or folding bikes in their stores. I mean, you guys work with hundreds of retailers, you're talking with riders and consumers, so you're the experts. So I'm going to just give you 4 questions, and off the top of your head, just best idea for our retailers. Are you guys game? I can tell. Amber, you're in, right? You're sitting.
Like this is the fun stuff. I love talking about how to make bike shops better, and so yeah.
All right. So both of you, here we go. So we have already covered, a history of Tern, getting to know the team better. We've gotten to know the product better. There's some definite compelling reasons for retailers to consider adding urban bicycles to your inventory if you don't already. But let's say a retailer decides, okay, I'm going to work with Tern, or decide to work with another brand that sells folding or urban bikes. What advice do you have for retailers on effectively marketing these bikes? So letting their customers know, hey, we are now selling these bikes in this category, and inviting people in. How should they get the word out?
Have them on their sales floor, and use it. I think it's really that simple sometimes. So
awesome. So make a commitment to stocking product on your sales floor. Have you or your team actually use the bikes. Dale, anything you would add?
Yeah, no, I would simply emphasize what Amber said. Use the product, because it makes it so much easier to sell, because you understand for yourself how the bike works and how it can change lives.
I love that. Yeah. And get excited. Like, I feel like when we talk about something with passion and energy, and we talk about how we just used it last week, it lets the rider, the person in our store who's making the consideration to like visualize themselves doing the same and think about how it changed their lives, because ultimately this bike is going to change their life. Right. So love that. I love that. Great. All right. You guys ready for question number 2?
Yeah.
We're hitting it here. Okay. All right. So what about training staff? Like I was just saying, like be excited, but any tips that you would have to make sure our staff knows the unique features and benefits of Tern bikes. So when customers come into the store, the staff is super knowledgeable. Is there anything that you think retailers would want to make sure that their staff does to make sure that they're the knowledge experts?
Yeah, I think so. One thing that stood out being a dealer and working with Tern is we really do want to make all this information really accessible, because there's a lot of brands that just don't give a dealer enough information. So we have lots of support articles, we have lots of videos on our YouTube, and now we have a dedicated training portal. So use these tools that are offered because they're there. And then I don't think there's anything that can really replace like having it in store and like having your staff ride it and use it and handle it and just really get that feel for it firsthand.
I love that. I love that. That information accessible to retailers so they can get the staff trained up is fabulous. Dale, anything you would add?
Yeah, special shout out to Arlie Greenwald, aka Butt Shop Girl. She has a lot of stuff on YouTube, but she helps. She manages our training portal and our training resources here for North America. And Heather, I'll tell you, I've worked in the industry a long time. We put a lot of emphasis on that training portal. It doesn't happen overnight, and the content there is really good. It's really laid out well, professionally done. The photo, the video, the article, the writing is very relevant for what a dealer needs to know. Granted, there's a lot of content there, so it really is one of those things that know where it is, refer to it often. When it's raining, go back to it. When you feel like, hey, I have some new staff, I've had some turnover, use those resources. They are there, but also the ability to talk to us live and in person, or nowadays with Zoom and tools like that. We are always willing to go over anything a shop wants to, whether it's selling tips or just some realities of how to navigate through some challenging questions. We're always happy to do so, because remember, ultimately, as shops succeed, we succeed.
Yeah, shout out to Arlie. She is awesome. Yeah, I love working with her. And yeah, I have heard some really positive feedback about all the support articles, video, and training that you do provide your dealers. So fabulous to you guys and great suggestions. I just would think I might also, in talking to a consumer, if I was selling this category of bikes, might want to talk about safe places to ride, because not everyone knows. And I know a lot of retailers are working on that messaging in their store, and we want to make sure people feel safe out there on the roads. You guys are acing. You guys are good at this fun little section of our podcast today. All right, I got 2 more questions. Here we go. So we've got a retailer, they're stocking the bikes, they've got educated staff, they're committed to it. I'm the shop owner, I'm riding my bike every day. Give me some tips if I want to create some kind of eye-catching display that maybe showcases the portability, versatility of these bikes. How would I do that best in the store?
Yeah, so when we have new retailers and they order demo bikes, it's one part of it is ordering the bike, but you need to order all the accessories to go with it and have those demo bikes, those bikes on your sales floor actually accessorized. So you can show how you put the child seat in, or you can show how this basket attaches really quickly to the rear rack and takes it off. So yeah, you need to accessorize them too.
Yeah, Dale, I can see you're going to add something.
Yeah, and realistically, all of our bikes either fold or stand vertically for easy storage. So having a bike in the folded position or in the vertically stored position helps a customer visualize how they can store it themselves. And because that is a challenge. Hey, this bike can carry 2 passengers or a dog and cargo. How big is it? You know? So when it's folded or standing on its tail end, you go, holy cow, I could put this bike in that small of a space, but yet it's so capable to do so many things.
I love the idea of displaying them folded because it lets people see them, actually pick them up, make sure they can figure out how to carry them. And the accessories, oh my gosh, as a woman who loves accessorizing, if I could see all the accessories and my kids were there, they'd be like, let's buy this, let's buy this, let's buy this. So awesome ideas. Let's talk about last question here. What about highlighting the environmental benefits and cost savings? Anything that you would recommend there?
That's a great question. It's hard to quantify. It's dependent upon how much a person uses it, right? But really, these bikes are so clean, and the impact on the environment is so minimal compared to what it could be. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes I think like the silent talker of like commuting, just a section heading, commuting bikes or folding bikes or putting a loaf of bread in a bike gets people thinking about that. So I'm so worried about climate change. I mean, this is serious stuff. We have retailers who are closing their stores because of forest fires. So I think this is something that we have to take very, very seriously. So I'm thinking about this is we're doing good things for the planet, right? So I don't know. I thought it was a good question, but
Very
Great.
good question. We don't have, Dale and I were both like stumped a bit of like, we definitely talk about it. Like Tern itself, like they're doing what we can to eliminate some of the plastic from our packaging. So globally, like this is always a discussion. We're like, oh boy, we haven't figured out a good answer for retailers to like talk about it yet, but maybe we need to.
we're all working on that, right? This is
Yeah.
coming fast and hard at us. I love the environmental sustainability piece though that the
Mhm.
company is doing globally. Thank you for that.
Mhm.
All right, so these are excellent tips. You guys, I just totally put you on the spot and you had awesome advice for retailers to leverage the advantages to sell Tern bicycles or this diverse category of bicycles. What about what's coming down the pipeline? I don't want to, share too much secret sauce, but is there anything exciting developments or innovations from Tern bicycles that we can, expect in the future?
Certainly. And pay attention. There's going to be some cool accessories coming out to help enhance your ride experience, and also a few bike families early next year that we'll be able to talk about more. And they are additions to our existing lineup. So remember that what we said earlier, bikes make sense. And when these bikes come out, you're going to go,
Oh, that
holy
makes
cow, that makes sense.
Now I'm really curious, Dale. Look what you just did there. It's like a cliffhanger. So what if we have some listeners that are interested in learning more about Tern, want to connect with someone from your team, maybe have some questions that I didn't ask today on the podcast. Is there a best contact or way to get a hold of someone?
I think the easiest is emailing north.america@turnbicycles.com. And then we can kind of get them connected to the right person to continue that conversation.
Perfect. So that's north.america@turnbicycles.com. And we will put that in the show notes as well. Dale, Amber, anything I forgot to ask you that you were like, I can't wait to share this on the podcast? Is there anything that I just totally spaced on?
No. I am looking over your shoulder. I see that P2 sign. So thank you for what you're doing there. I know several of our dealers really enjoy it. So again, thank you for NBDA and what you guys do. We do. I should add this actually. We do as this brand, as one of the hotter brands, if you will, in the industry. We do receive a lot of inquiries from people opening shops. And so this is their first run in the industry. And I have referred NBDA many times over. And I'm happy to report one of them you did a podcast with, Nate Nordstrom. So I thought that was really cool.
Thank you. Yes, Nate is fabulous, and he is a member of our P2 program, and we really do appreciate that. We truly believe when we have stronger retailers, we have a stronger industry, more people on bikes. So it's our collective work together. You and Amber making the time to come on the podcast today, that makes the difference. So I just want to thank you guys as well. And I hope that I'll see you at a live show this year, maybe the CABDA or the Retailer Summit or somewhere along the way. Our paths will cross, because it's awesome that we get to spread the joy of bicycles and work in the same industry. So thank you both.
Thank you, Heather.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, now, bye, listeners.
Have a good
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Bicycle Retail Radio. This podcast is designed specifically for the bicycle industry, dedicated to strengthening our retailers and cycling community. If it is your first episode, we urge you to take the time and listen to our past episodes.